Thank you very much for the opportunity. I am coming from a very small NGO, and I think my role here is to give you maybe a different perspective that is coming from this kind of organizations. So the name of my presentation is going to be Creating the Symbiotic City, Bottom-up Collaboration for the Co-Design of Civic Software. So I would like to start by giving some context about our perspective on how you can promote, so what are the ways to support ICT for governance experiments. So that means using ICT to promote participation or to promote collaboration, all these things that we have been talking about. And as we see it, we know different models. One probably is the one that you know better. It's the typical framework program project. So the first thing you need to create such a project is a nice name and a nice acronym. So for example, transformative, adaptive, responsive, and engaging environment. You take some of the letters and you get the name. And then the second thing that usually is needed in Europe is to have a huge network of partners that are able to carry out the different working packages and to implement some pilot projects in several countries. Okay. Additionally, you need a lot of money because it's not that easy to make so many people cooperate. So let's see how in these kind of projects you can have this co-design and collaboration. And from our perspective, and looking at the results, it's very difficult. So it's a challenge only to make all teams that are participating to cooperate with them. So if we are speaking about co-designing with citizens to really go down, maybe one of the partners is trying to do some of this, but for the whole project is usually tends to be very difficult. Nevertheless, there are some projects, so for example, the smart cities, which are from Europe, which are making very good contributions. So they are centered on this collaboration on cities, and they are achieving nice results. So let's move to the other side of this categorization. So probably you know these bar camps. So they have become popular in the context of collaborative services in cities. We have what is called city camps, which in the last year, so they have exploded, and every big city is running these city camps. They are sometimes linked to some kind of competitive effort, hackathons, where what they do basically is during a weekend or sometimes for more time, they are asking hackers and all kind of persons from government, from civic associations to come together to work probably on some open data and to create applications that are working. The major advantage of this approach is the cost. It costs nothing. But the problem is that, well, you get this collaboration, but usually the results are not that sustainable. And the kind of things that you can do on a weekend is quite limited. And so that's the problem. And then in the middle, we imagine, so we have seen that there is another kind of projects which are starting to get defined. They are characterized, so they are these strange people, and it's characterized by having an idea. So they can be called social entrepreneurs or ICT entrepreneurs or hackers or whatever, but they have really a vision, they want to implement it, and they achieve to create some kind of support community who shares this vision and try to support it. This is the kind of projects that would be very well helped served by Code for Europe. But the problem is that we in Europe do not have any Code for Europe. So, sadly enough, this is not an alternative. Somebody from the European Union could say, well, but we have our FET Open program, which is actually a light, topic agnostic, and deadline-free scheme specifically designed to be open and continuously responsive to novel and fragile ideas that challenge current thinking whenever they arise and wherever they come from. This is really, if it would work and if it is working, it's probably the way to support them. But the thing is that right after saying wherever they come from, for example, the action on young researchers of this open data, FET Open, they demand that the young researchers are doctors. And they are not aware that sometimes by being a doctor on this area of collaborative governance, this is more an obstacle to have these kind of ideas. So sadly enough, again, there is no FET Open. And what remains, it's not these three, but probably things like foundations like ASOCA, like the Open Society Foundation, which are specialized somehow in finding this kind of ideas, projects, and giving them support and help them to scale. So, but this is a difficult project, and our Neanderthal is used to work with less money. Okay? And this is important, so as a context, because the times are changing. And internet, in our perspective, is about to hit on politics. And in the same way that other industries, like porn industry, banking, communications were changed, so this can mean really challenges. Yeah, for sure we consider ourselves one of these Neanderthals, and yeah, we should pay attention because some things could happen. And these kind of animals, they have this clear idea. In this case, for example, the idea is kyose. Kyose means symbiosis, collaboration, and they have just one idea: I'm going to survive, I'm going to make this system real, I'm going to make it better than any e-participation system that I've seen so far. And probably, maybe they will achieve it, maybe not, but this will be a starting point. We will see right now what is the approach to creating this kind of projects. And yeah, it is a starting point and it continues to be collaboratively improved, so this is going to have a huge impact. So let's go into the mind of this friend, and I will now present more properly our project, the Kyopol project. About our association is the first Spanish NGO who is devoted to participation, democracy and e-governance. We have been working since 2004. Our areas of work were in participation research, advocacy, promotion, and also the socio-technical design, construction and management of these civic software systems. Our research has focused on civic engagement, and this is important because it's not, we haven't been studying just e-participation or e-civic engagement. We have been working really on civic engagement. We were in Guatemala, in Brazil, so they are countries where participation is difficult, but they are much more innovative than the old Europe on these areas. And we have been researching about the best design practice for these participation systems, and also on the difficulties to promote innovation in the ICT for governance fields with some focus on Europe. And our main aim is to create this kind of system. So let's move to the project. What is the framework that we have been using? So most of these projects, very big projects, just usually jump because they have to create something in 2 years, and they jump immediately to propose actions and to implement. In our case, we perform a real theoretical analysis which was divided in sociological research. So we were studying participatory budgeting experiences, we were studying in Guatemala development assembly system that is covering all the country. So we try to get familiar with the real problems of participation before trying to create any e-participation. And what we saw is that everybody is speaking about participation, about transparency. It's very nice, but many people and many of those experts have really not much idea about what participation is. So we had to devise our own models. We create some system. We experimented with transparency. We made some proposals, and even we were reflecting on what is the best methodologies and to create the systems and to make them sustainable. All this work was actually to specify the requirements for such a system and be able to design it. But the design is for sure wrong. And then our approach, this is very clear, you need some participatory evaluation of what you are trying to create. So, and what is this participatory evaluation? You have to have representatives of all the potential users of the system. And here there are citizens, civic associations, social movements as the 15M, or now the 15th of October movement, politicians for sure, representatives, political parties, town hall officials, the media, researchers, so it's a lot of actors, and all of them have to verify from their perspective if the system is covering their needs, if it's appropriate for their capacities, etc. That way you get some review requirements, and the design is now collaborative. This is what this workshop is about. So based on it, you can already start construction of an alpha. And this alpha, again with this community of pioneers, you can run some pilot projects, and again you have some feedback that is enriching the design. And finally, you can go to construct a system that should stay in permanent beta. That means that the system grows, it's being used more and more, but you continuously keep learning and improving. Okay? So how are we, well, not how, who? So we are doing this project with almost no resources. We are just working on it voluntarily, and we have a core team which contains some developers, some people who are experts on participation, and some people working on communication. And we are trying to create this alpha, and for that we have this pioneers group who are helping. We keep communication with them, and they are helping us to create the functionalities, the participatory processes that are built around the system, the methodological approaches, and the didactic materials that are going to be used. With this, we will be able to start some projects, especially where these pioneers are based, and based on this learning, we will be able to move to one expansion time, where we would extend from just some municipalities to the whole, for example, Spain, and then it should be possible to jump into Latin America and Europe, which is actually our focus. How we are doing this? How do you create such a system with no money? So we are using very basic tools. When you think about collaboration, some people are proposing like complex systems, like complex workflows. What we have learned is that it is not that much, so that if you want collaboration, you have to make it very easy and to create tools and procedures that help them. And what we are doing is we are using just Facebook group, email list, wikis to have all our knowledge, share docs, and for sure for the design, some technical wireframes and the direct interaction with prototypes. The lessons we have learned, well, it's all about people, person. They have to be motivated. They share the idea, but you are creating a community of them and empowering them to collaborate. So you have to care about details, you have to think in the long term, to care and be patient. So you have to help them to help you with whatever capacity, time, energy they have. So for that reason, you have to create a simple singleton task. So small things, small requests that can be done easily, which might or might not be attended. Actually, from our community, we have like 60 pioneers. So usually when we request them to do something, usually probably 70% or 80% are not reacting. But with the work, the contribution of the 20% that are asking each of these requests, we are moving forward. So these tasks are designed to work yes or yes. First, we need to create it. It does not exist, so we are still not thinking about sunsetting. But actually not. So the process, so one special dimension of participation that it is very, very, very important is the, how do you say, that the participatory processes, that the participatory mechanisms and tools are kept through the time, because people need time to get to know how to use them. People need time to establish trust and relations. People need, these learning processes in the people and actually on the government side also. And so this project is intended to be not that much sunsetting, so it could be possible, but to be continuously improved. And actually with this kind of systems you are creating value the more the people are using it. So my intention was not to describe the system here. It could be done at any other moment. But the idea is that the more it is used, for the more time it's being used, so for example in a city, that you are publishing in this system all the participatory activities that either the municipality or public associations are creating, it starts to be like a memory of the collaborative history of the city. And for that reason, it's more about creating synergies and linking with other systems and making it grow, rather than thinking, so it's, the system is created with the intention to be alive and to keep evolving. So I guess it depends. So this is a path-dependent case in each country, and you have very different historical developments. So for example, Guatemala has a participatory system that is covering the whole country. So you have like development assemblies on the level of each neighborhood, at the level of the cities, at the level of departments, and supposedly at some moment it should be also on the level of the state. It's not working for sure, but it's some kind of mechanism that is helping. So this was top-down, this was imposed by the IMF and the World Bank when they were helping the country after the Civil War. They have some requirements on transparency, so the municipality is forced to work with all the NGOs in the city, and it's not working, but this is providing some framework that is enabling the civil society to try to occupy these spaces and to make them really work. So in this case, I would say it's a mix of top-down and bottom-up. For example, Brazil. Brazil is a very interesting country, and they are quite advanced in promotion of free software and on e-participation and in collaboration. I guess they could be, it could be an interesting country to verify what they have done on e-services, so on this collaboration. I know the Federal Chamber has a quite interesting democracy side, and they for some of the laws they are creating, they are having some things that I haven't seen in Europe. So, and in the case of Brazil, it's again the same. So you have a constitution that is quite open to participation on the greeting. So it was not intended to be real, but the constitution says the citizens are the owners of the country, and they are represented, so they can rule the country through representatives or by involving themselves directly through participation. And so you have a top-down framework that is enabling this kind of movements, but in Brazil the social movements have been very powerful, and they have been fighting for years. And the best outcomes is where social movements meet government. And actually sometimes the people who have grown in the social movement end up in government. And this is creating this kind of new mindsets. I think it's also happening somehow in Europe too. But yeah, so to your question, I think it's a mixture of both things. So top-down framework, and then the fight to make it real and to make it work. So well, it's e-participation, which is somehow very related to these collaborations, because if e-participation is working, it is going to impact the development of services, for sure. So actually the presentation of Tom Steinberg, I was also there, he was based on a paper that actually was written by my association. I was the author. It was 4,500 euros per user contribution or by signatures to a petition. But well, this must be put into context. So they were research projects and they were trying to experiment somehow. But yeah, there is a problem. I see that there is change underway, that there is a new mindset possibly achieving. So the fact that we are now able to say this, you were investing 180 million euros in the last 10 years on e-participation. Where are the results? Where are the collaborative? What have we learned? And the results are very scarce. So, moving forward, what is going to happen? And there was a dinosaur, but there was this meteorite or whatever. The thing is that we are spending a lot of money on these kind of projects, and they are, in most cases, irrelevant. So, actually, there is nothing to be done. So, it's going to take more time. So, if these resources were, not these resources, the tenth of these resources were put to work where there is fertile ground, it could make a lot of effect. But my impression is that when the first systems that really work start to be created, and the positive pressure can be exerted on politicians and on this kind of systems, they will be just irrelevant. So it will be a pity. We will say, well, what did the European Union do to promote all this? And the answer will be probably, well, less. But the change will happen. And I would recommend to have a look at this paper. It's provocative, but I think it's quite interesting.